Hey guys, Nintendrew here. Usually I'm not one to cover current gaming news and rumors. I tend to stay in my own little retro gaming bubble. But... bubble butt. For this video, I'll be making an exception due to some rumors surrounding the alleged Nintendo 64 Classic Edition. Sony took everyone by surprise this week when they dropped an unexpected reveal trailer for the PlayStation Classic system, which is a mini console that takes a lot from Nintendo's own pint-sized systems, even down to the naming convention. And with the recent approval of a trademark for a Nintendo 64 controller icon, which is eerily similar to those on the NES and Super Nintendo Classic boxes, rumors have been swirling that Nintendo might push to launch their own Nintendo 64 Classic Edition before the year's out. With the approval of that patent and with the success of the earlier consoles, we can be sure Nintendo is working on something. But as far as exactly what that something entails, until we get an official announcement, we're left to speculate. So today, I wanted to make a quick video to talk about my predictions for the as-of-yet unannounced Nintendo 64 Classic, including what might be packed in the box, which games will make the lineup, and when we could possibly see this thing on store shelves. So first up, for the system itself, here's my prediction. I think we're going to get the console with one controller in the box, 20 games built in, sold for $100 MSRP, and here's my reasoning. As for the price, Sony has already announced that the PlayStation Classic system will be launching at $100 with 20 games built in, and I can imagine that Nintendo would realize they could match a similar price point and still end up with tons of units sold. Maybe it'll be a little less, but with the pattern set by the first two mini consoles, I would imagine it's gotta be more than $80 and no more than $100. Now, the reason I think we're only going to see one controller in the box is due to a matter of size. So if they want to have the same size box as from the NES and Super Nintendo Classic systems, it's already going to be a stretch for them to fit even just one of these controllers in here. I mean, if you look at that, that's going to be kind of a tight fit. So I can't imagine them fitting more than one controller in this box. If they wanted to just break the convention and make a bigger box, they could do that. But even with two controllers or possibly up to four, I mean, that's gonna get huge pretty quick. So I think what we'll see is one controller in the box, with the option of purchasing additional controllers separately, the same way we saw with the NES Classic. Alright, so as for those 20 games themselves, here's my best guess for what we'll see in the lineup. First up, the obvious picks are Super Mario 64 and The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. These are the absolute pinnacle of titles on the N64, and there would be riots in the streets if these titles were not included, so those are definitely going to be in. On my list, I've also included Majora's Mask because I feel like it's gotten some more love in recent years, and it just wouldn't feel complete without Majora's Mask there, so I definitely think they'll go for that one as well. As far as Mario titles go, I think we're going to see a healthy number of Mario games, but if we get too many, it's going to start seeming like Mario is dominating the roster. So I'm going to quickly run through the Mario games which I think have the best chance of making it in. We've got Mario Kart 64, clearly. Paper Mario. Paper Mario is kind of expensive when you look at buying it for the original console, so it'd be good for them to get it in front of a new audience in that way. I've put down Mario Party 2, Mario Tennis, and Mario Golf. And so the reason I chose Mario Party 2 is because Mario Party 1 and 3 never made it to the Wii or Wii U Virtual Consoles, in part due to concerns about hand injuries and controller wear. So Mario Party 2 is the only one that made it to Virtual Console. And for Mario Tennis, I feel like it makes a lot of sense to include that title, especially with Mario Tennis Aces having recently launched. A lot of people would be interested in seeing where the series started, so I think that's a safe pick as well. Super Smash Bros., of course, is going to be there, and that's going to be a big headliner for this system, especially with Ultimate launching in December, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. We've got to have some sort of Pokemon title, right? So I know a lot of people would argue for Pokemon Stadium, but I think it's more likely we'll see something like Pokemon Snap, just due to the transfer pack having such a big role in Pokemon Stadium, so I think Pokemon Snap would be a safer bet there. Some other pretty safe picks, I think, are Star Fox 64, F-Zero X, 1080 Snowboarding, Excitebike 64, Kirby 64, Wave Race, and Yoshi's Story. All classic titles and all games that we've seen included in both the Wii and Wii U Virtual Console libraries. Now at this point, I know what a lot of you are thinking. How can it be a Nintendo 64 Classic without titles from Rare, one of the biggest names of the N64 era, with smash hits like Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye, Conker's Bad Fur Day, the list goes on? Well, obviously we know that Rare is owned by Microsoft and has been for some time. However, one of their adventures is still under Nintendo's thumb, and that is Donkey Kong 64. Because that title was made for Nintendo, exclusively using Nintendo's IP, they still maintain the rights to distribute it. With the inclusion of the Donkey Kong Country series on the SNES Classic, Donkey Kong 64 has got to be a sure thing for the N64 Classic. As far as other big names like Banjo or Perfect Dark, I'm not going to hold my breath. Now, with Microsoft and Nintendo building sort of a rapport over recent months with Minecraft crossplay on Switch and the rumors of a Minecraft presence in Smash Ultimate, I won't rule out the possibility that they could have something behind the scenes in the works. If they did work out a deal and Rare's library were up for grabs, I would expect them to go all out with titles like Blast Corps, Diddy Kong Racing, Jet Force Gemini, the works. As far as any other licensed titles, I think another good candidate would be Bomberman 64. This is another game we saw come to the Wii U Virtual Console, and Nintendo seems to have a good enough relationship with Konami to swing this one. And finally, to round off the list, for the last title, my money's on the English translation of Sin and Punishment. Because we saw Nintendo branch out to exclusive content with the release of Star Fox 2 on the SNES Classic, and because they've already got this ROM translated and ready to go, again from an earlier release on Virtual Console, I think Sin and Punishment has a great chance of making the list. It's a solid fan-favorite title which would require no additional development or licensing efforts. So those are my predictions for the game list. Now finally, let's get to the release date. For context, Sony has already announced that the PlayStation Classic is going to be coming out on December 3rd, and in that same week, that Friday, December 7th, is the launch of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, another huge release for Nintendo. If the rumors are true, and Nintendo plans to launch the N64 Classic this year, they're going to want to be competitive with the PlayStation Classic, and wouldn't want to miss the release date of Smash Ultimate, because you're going to have so many hungry fans on launch day waiting in line for hours, ready to get their hands on this new title, and that's the perfect opportunity to convince them to pick up the new system on their way to the register. Now, because we don't yet have any planned Nintendo Direct announcements, and because the NES and Super NES Classic systems were both announced at least 2 months prior to their release, I think Nintendo was caught by surprise with that PlayStation Classic reveal, and they're going to be in kind of a tight spot if they want to have the system ready in time. With all these points considered, my prediction is that if we do indeed see the N64 Classic this year, it's probably going to launch that very same week, the first week in December, and to get even more specific, I think it's going to launch on December 7th, the exact same day as Smash Ultimate. Usually, a double launch like this could serve to hurt the sales of one product or the other, but in this case, I can't really imagine them competing with each other for sales, and this sort of tactic could be exactly what Nintendo needs to maximize profits. So that's my 2 cents. But what do you think? Would you be happy with this lineup? Or is there something that I missed that might make or break the purchase for you? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below. In the meantime, if you just can't wait for Nintendo to announce and release this thing already, last year I made my own custom N64 Mini at home with less than $50 in materials, so definitely check out that tutorial if you're interested. I'll leave a link in the top right hand corner of your screen. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please do consider subscribing to Nintendrew for all sorts of cool gaming content, and make sure to share it with any friends who might find it interesting. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye! Hey guys, thanks again for watching and for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you like this one, here are 2 more videos you might like as well. As always, if you like what I do and would like to help out the channel, I've got a link to my Patreon on the right side of your screen. And otherwise, I hope you'll look forward to the next one. Take care!